give him utmost respect, keep him as much as comfortable as possible, give him a seat, doesn't matter he was standing. I have seen in medical colleges poor residents really stooping, hurting their back just to show boss the camera, and boss is still yelling, and everybody's BP is rising, and nothing can be achieved. I mean, a calm, composed atmosphere of operation theatre, that should be the primary goal. Shouting, and the moment things go wrong, first thing some people do, they start shouting, blasting the assistant, and poor fellow is already very nervous. He's assisting, showing you camera in awkward position, and now he has lost it. And that's the where like we reach the point of no return. So respect the assistant, and third, respect yourself, respect your body. Your body is there, your joints are there to last particular rotation, particular movements. As surgeons, we really find it difficult for us to keep very fit, follow our regular exercise or diet routine, and this becomes very difficult because to begin with, if you remember first time you learned driving, the awkward steering position, you are holding steering like this and all the shoulders are hurting first 2 3 days. So I make yourself in maximum relaxed position. So ideal port is there. Obviously you have to reach the desired organ, but your arms should be relaxed. If you need a stool, you need something, just arrange it. Don't feel shy of it, and make use of all the armamentarium. As such, for my from my perspective, uh, truly there is no handedness in laparoscopy. So if you are beginning now, start doing all the steps with both hands. Slowly, slowly, you may do some procedure more with left hand, some with more with right hand, but try to repeat steps with by changing hands. Because once your one hand will get tired, you can change the arm, you can do same thing from the other hand. This will really save a lot of years to your joints, your shoulders, your muscles, everything. So three things we have to respect: patient, assistant, and yourself. Coming to the steps, the part I'm given to speak about, I'll be catering steps in following the codes are already placed. So next step is mobilizing the colon. Two steps are particularly important for right side nephrectomy, like mobilizing liver and the upper pole to begin with, and cauterization of the duodenum, and freeing the lower pole, dissecting the hilum, dividing the ureter, and placing the specimen left side if you are doing morcellation for uh, laparoscopic simple nephrectomy. So for mobilizing the colon, so honestly there is no fixed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, with experience you may tend to skip few steps, but to begin with, we should follow the instruction manual so that we don't go wrong. Because once the beginning is not good, then you start not believing in the procedure. Then your intention is to really, okay, it's not happening. Come on, man, just open it. Let's do it. So the first step is the port placement. Port placement is very important. First 4 5 case, just put the port, see, observe, and come back. It's okay, no problem. You've not done anything further. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to really go ahead. Next 10 to 20, 25 cases, go ahead, mobilize the colon, and progress as you have been doing entire your life. So that's very important. Be comfortable in a step where you really have urge to go to next step. Fix time to a particular step. See, patient is under anesthesia. You can't just go on to achieve something which is not achievable maybe in that situation. So fix time for a step. For port placement, take 10 minutes. For colon mobilization, fix a time of half an hour. Okay, today half an hour I will dedicate for colon mobilization. Mobilize the colon. Colon mobilization, it's a very, though it appears very simple, in most of the conferences we see, okay, rarely people hardly talk about it, how ideally colon should be mobilized, but people invariably end up mobilizing it in a wrong way, and the kidney drops. And if you have gone in the attempt of mobilizing the colon, that's more common on the left side. If you have gone and dropped the kidney, that's where you really stopped your further progress. So once the kidney is dropped, then you need lot of assistance to keep it up, mobilize the hilum if you really started doing left nephrectomy recently. So colon mobilization is a very tricky thing, and you should learn to, it's difficult for me to explain it here, that we will discuss when we are doing surgery, but you have to do it correctly. 5 case, 10 case, 25 case, 30 case, whatever it takes, 40 case, 50 case, just keep on doing it. Go on institutions. You are most welcome to come back here anytime. You can scrub with us. Just see how it has to be done. It has to be done in correct way so that kidney doesn't drop. If kidney drops, then you have it. So ascending colon and hepatic flexures or hepatic flexure on the right side, they are rolled medially. And again, duodenum is again mobilized while you will be doing cauterization. So the mobilization of colon is done. Mobilizing liver and upper pole, this step can be the next step if you are doing a right side nephrectomy. So on the right side, lift the liver by cutting the ligaments which hold it. So you can, Dr. Rahul showed, the fifth port on the right side under the Zippi sternum, which goes and which lifts the liver. The liver is held by triangular ligament and all. So you have to sometimes dissect them so the liver is properly elevated. Then you can go ahead and dissect the upper pole of the kidney a little bit. So it gives you access for the renal pole mobilization and gives space for separation for the artery. Identifying the ureter. So, if you're doing left side, to begin with, you can start your nephrectomies on the left side preferably. And left side ureter identification should be the next step after mobilization of the pole. So, where the ureter is there. In open surgery, things are like really in your hand. You can feel things, you can palpate things, but in laparoscopy, your tactile sensations are gone. There will be maybe some haptic feedback, but there is really no feel of the tissue. So you are all dependent on your visualization, and believe me, that's all you need. Because with the laparoscopy, the kind of magnification you have, amount of magnification you have, things are so magnified, and it becomes really amazing to appreciate things, and it will be really hard to go back to open surgery once you start doing it. So ureter is just lies on the psoas and mostly close to the lower pole. Once you have dropped the colon properly, then you have to identify the lower pole of the kidney. If you dig in a little bit underneath the lower pole of the kidney, just below the lower pole, don't go between area of hilum and the lower pole, because sometimes there can be a artery or a branch going to a lower pole. So that's important in where you're not doing an extrapolative surgery. In nephrectomy, though it doesn't matter, but it can bleed. So you have to identify ureter over the psoas, and if you are not still able to appreciate it, then you can identify the gonadal vessels. Gonadal vessels are really glaringly broad vessels seen once you drop the pole. So that's the vein, the gonadal vein, you can identify it, and then with just ureter lies just close to it, you have to follow it. Gently stroke the retroperitoneal fat with a atraumatic grasper in the perpendicular plane to the direction of the ureter, and you can appreciate ureter by its peristalsis. And most of the structures which are confused, you may confuse ureter with the gonadal vein. You may confuse ureter with if you not dropped the colon. Sometimes people have thought the mesenteric artery. They have been confused with that, and this psoas tendon. That's the next thing you can confuse it with. So peristalsis really helps. When most of the non-functioning kidney, the ureteric peristalsis is present, so it's very easily identifiable. Sometimes with aggressive manipulation, ureter sometimes loses its peristalsis. You really aggressively surge it, and then you really don't see ureter moving much. If you're really in doubt, you're really going deep, you can go further down. If you're not finding it close to the lower pole of the kidney, you can go down. Ureter crosses the iliac vessels, and there you can find it crossing over the iliac vessels. And that's the again area where you can find peristalsis again, and you can identify it. Still in doubt, have a small needle, aspirate it. If you're doubt, it can be vessel or something else. Aspirate, confirm. Don't progress into something if you are really not sure. It's very, very important. I know people who have just dropped the idea of doing nephrectomy by laparoscopic method or laparoscopic surgery, per se, very senior surgeons in my institute where I was, they really drop because something went wrong in one or few initial cases. Things will go wrong, bound to happen that way, but there are really ways to tackle that. So see it, confirm it, and have somebody next to you. Make mentors. No problem. And even somebody junior in your city, if he's doing this, call him up and have him by your side. If you initial few cases, and after this workshop, we'll be really happy to come back and help you with the initial cases if you really like. So this is the next and most important step where people get stuck. So colon mobilization, don't drop the kidney. Ureter mobilization, there is really no way to get it wrong, but you should not really damage iliac vessel or something major. I mean, gonadal sometimes, even if you tear it, you can control the bleeding, but iliac vessels, it really becomes unmanageable initial cases. So, if talking about right side cauterization for duodenum, you are all aware about cauterization method, how you do it in open surgery, technique follows the same. The difference is everything looks so big and so nice there. You really appreciate, be it comfortable on either side. Don't dig it in too much into the duodenum, and the other side is IVC. So really you don't have much of the space. So cauterization of duodenum has to be done, and once you have dropped the colon, you have identified the ureter. There are other methods. It's a standard way I am talking, but truly there is no standard. Case by case, you may find something difficult and you switch to other step. This happens very commonly. So there are other ways of tackling one problem. Sometimes we are not able to find, like you're not sure between hilum, where is the hilum. You can really go down and trace the ureter. Where it goes, then you reach the hilum. So there are ways of doing it. On the right side, on the left side, the gonadal vein, testicular vein or gonadal vein enters the renal vein. So you have to be very gentle. You are taking ureter and gonadal vein with the retractor. Retractor is mostly in the hand of assistant. So never shout at your assistant because he may tear it off. So that's a very important thing. You have to make your assistant as comfortable as you are. So you have to tell him to be really gentle, and you have to be conscious how much traction you are feeling on the tissue. Sometimes assistant may not know, and try to keep the same assistant all the time in all your cases. Continue with the same assistant. It may be a same resident in your department. Train one resident, then next resident, it can go on, but try to repeat the same set of people. So coming up to cauterization, once you have found, so the left gonadal vein goes into the renal vein, right one goes into directly into the IVC. So you have left one you may tear, the renal vein may bleed, right one you tear, sometimes it gets torn exactly from where it drops into the IVC. And that bleeding will be directly from the IVC. In the initial cases, that will really, you really can't progress if you have not managed those kind of bleeding laparoscopically. So next step is the renal polar dissection and retraction. So you have mobilized the ureter, you mobilized the colon, you dropped the duodenum on the right side, and next then you start mobilizing the pole. Lower pole you can mobilize so that it gets lifted along with your ureter. The ureter and the gonadal vein are with the retractor with the fourth port, which is put on the side. The assistant retracts the fourth port and the ureter, and if you mobilize a little bit lower pole, then it goes up easily. Sometimes there is pyelonephrosis, infection, emphysematous pyelonephritis. The poles are very stuck. It is very stuck. Even if you try to lift with the retractor, ureter and all, they really don't go up easily. So mobilization of lower pole makes life easier there. And so Girota's fascia is entered. So obviously we are not tackling tumor here. So we say, like in simple nephrectomy, you can go between the plane of Girota's fascia and the renal capsule. Is entered on the both hand, you can actually do upper pole and the lower pole, and next step is to go for the hilum. So take care of the adrenal lumbar veins on the left side. So adrenal, apart from the gonadal vein, on the left side, if you have mobilized the gonadal, so you will come across the gonadal vein. You can clip it if you want, and if it comes easily up, then you may not need to clip it there. Adrenal vein requires clipping. With the harmonic, you can, with the latest models which they have 7-8 mm, sealing capacity. Adrenal you can really buzz comfortably with the harmonic. They're generally small vessels. They really look magnified in the magnification. So that you can buzz. And lumbar veins also sometimes you can buzz, but initially it's use clips, be comfortable, mobilize front and back, use number of clips to safely control it. Rather than buzzing it half, then it starts bleeding and you don't know what to do. So, and the right renal vein IVC are very friable, very friable to whatever amount you can expect. So give utmost respect. The little amount of traction on the gonadal, little too much traction on the IVC, and suddenly it rips off. And if you are not sure, then there is always a second renal artery. If you found one artery and you are really not sure, there can be, believe it, it's there, present more commonly than you think about. There are more than one ways of belling the cat, to get the artery. So if you're not able to get the artery from the front, sometimes you can get the one renal artery, then you can mobilize the entire kidney, drop the kidney medially, and go for the second renal artery if you are in doubt from the back side. This is really important where kidney is non-functioning. Still, there is a lot of vascularity. In non-functioning kidney, generally the arteries are very thin, they are long obstructed kidney, really the blood supply shrinks. And the arteries are very thin. Even if you go vein first, artery first, even if you clip one artery, then vein, you can go for the second artery quickly. But if you are really not sure, beginning, flip the kidney and go for the artery, and that's very important if you are doing a radical nephrectomy, because the vascularity is really good there. So the same technique will continue for the radical nephrectomy and all. So having an extra port wherever you need for proper retraction is a good idea. Don't really feel shy of it. Retraction has to be gentle and train your assistant as you train yourself. So renal pedicle control. So we all the time think, yeah, what is the best way? Right side should be always with the stapler, and now it's cost 30,000-40,000. Should I go for it? Polymer clip or the Hemlock clips? They have slipped in other people's hand, and now should I go for it? There are guidelines against it using in donor nephrectomy. Titanium clips, sutures, ligatures. There are so many methods. So is there any ideal way? Honestly, there is no ideal way. So sutures, to begin with, in open nephrectomy, people used to have a N block tying of the hilum. They tied the entire block, mobilized, pass the suture along two, 3 times, and just tied. And they were very high rate of AV fistula. Though with the staplers, you are doing a N block stapling, but it has been found to be very safe. Staplers really don't have any additional, be it single titanium stapler or a vascular stapler, they really have not shown any additional increase in terms of AV fistula creation. So with the stapler, so you can go very well go ahead, but it comes to at an added cost of 30,000-40,000 rupees. And Hemlock clips. Honestly, we all the time, in most of the time, be it right side, left side, and 99% times of our donor nephrectomies, we use Hemlock clips, and they are absolutely safe. The problem is not knowing how to apply it. If you bypass the steps, we'll show you what is the ideal way of putting it. If you follow that, there is really no way to get it wrong. So it's extremely safe, and you will be safe as long as you're doing it correctly. No clip generally slips if you have put it in a right way. So retrieval of the specimen, young female patient, young male patient, go for a Pharyngeal. Tomorrow they will go dip in the water. They will be really, embarrassed for their flying scar showing up to somebody. So Pharyngeal is a good idea. It's a very low-lying incision. Most of the time gets hidden in the pubic hairline. And in very obese patient, pendulous abdomen, there is really no way to get it from below with the Pharyngeal, the specimen out. You can go ahead, extend your lower one 10 mm or 12 mm port, extend it a little bit, and initially, to begin with, use EndoCatch bags. They may cost you 5,000 to 15,000 depending on what variety you use, but it's a good idea to use that. And really don't go for in vivo morcellators. So to begin with, unless you are very comfortable with the technique. So morcellation is also an option. Drainage, always put a suction drain, no problem, next day it comes out. In our setup, we are discharging all our patients within 24 hours of the surgery. So all nephrectomies, unless they have any indication to keep them for long, like fever or some indication to you really feel okay, the bowel is not comfortable, abdomen is really distended, patient is vomiting, there's some issue, you can go ahead and devise a protocol for a one-day nephrectomy. That's what we are following here. All our cases are going home next day. And as Dr. Yadav already told, really no need. We are using 10 mm port for camera, 10 mm port, otherwise lateral ports, and they really don't need closure. Particularly at the umbilicus, because there is fat below and above umbilicus. So, and the sheath is there. Sheath generally closes off. If the tone is good, the rectus muscle, they really allow sheath to come in the midline, and below also it happens the same. But at the umbilicus, the muscle is not there. So if you're putting a particularly port at umbilicus, then sometimes you have to close it, because there is no support from surrounding. Neither the fat is there to really keep it closed, and nor the muscle is there. So that's something you have to see. So tip and the tricks. We will discuss in detail each and every step, how things can go wrong and how one can correct it. Of course, we will not like to go anything wrong deliberately today, but yeah, but we should know how to tackle it. So the most important rule, like which we have borrowed being a surgeon, vision, see it, grab it, see it, grab it, lift it, see again, twist, turn, rotate, check, recheck 10 times. It's okay, no problem. Have a structure in hand for 3 minutes, no issue. Have an assistant ask him, okay, are you convinced? Is this the ureter? Is this the gonadal vein? Is this the renal vein? Is this the IVC? Is this the duodenum? Then cut. So there is no, if you cut, there is no going back. If it starts bleeding, it becomes really difficult for the experienced surgeons also. Laparoscopy is all about space and vision. Vision is as good as long as there is space, and space starts going the moment there is bleeding, there is no vision, then you start putting suction, you suck it, gas is gone, there is no space. So you have to really be very sure before you cut. Speed and overconfidence can kill you on road and also in the OT. There is no award for doing it very quickly. Take your own time. As I already told, there are certain 4-5 steps. Goes one step at a time, fix a timeline, then go back again. So this is how you proceed. You can never be a complication-proof surgeon. That's the only way by not doing the surgery. So accept it, learn to manage your own complication, and never feel shy of calling a parallel specialty, like the hospital will know that something has got wrong, the bowel got opened, now I'm calling the GI surgeon. If you're really not dealt bowel injuries before laparoscopically, better call a GI surgeon. If you have not experienced with suturing the vessels, IVC, even if there is a small tear in the IVC, small bleeding, you applied the clip, still there is some oozing, some bleeding is coming out, and you're really not comfortable, call a vascular surgeon. No problem, open the patient, counsel him beforehand. First 50 cases, counsel them for open nephrectomy only. Go ahead with laparoscopic as much as you are comfortable. Practice one step at a time, gradually progress to the next step. And honestly, as I told, there is no handedness and there is no camera port. All ports are camera port, all ports are working ports. So you can switch in between, have a 5mm camera available also with you. Most of the manufacturers, they make very good 5mm laparoscopes, and you can use it. You can even use a cystoscope telescope, put it in the 5mm port, and it's just 4mm size. It goes in nicely and it's very usable. 30mm cystoscope telescope, you all have it and you can use it. And of course, camera and instruments can be interchanged, and the Excel ports we have shown you. To begin with, use dedicated instruments, not like reusable metal trocars. They have very failure rates. Gas is leaking. You are putting the reducer. Now reducer is leaking. The rubber is leaking. Something goes off. So initially, you will have to identify patients where you can afford the ports. Go on conferences, grab some ports anywhere you find. Have your equipment ready. Okay, respect your body. Don't strain it, and consider 5 ports on the house. Put it wherever you like. There's no shying away. If you are feeling like I'm straining, I'm not comfortable, put a port little 1 inch below. Let it be. 5 you just put a steri strip. It doesn't even require a suture. So be comfortable. So if you are at the hilum first approach, we can show you in some cases possible. If with time you right side you really don't have to go down and mobilize entire colon. You can directly just drop in colon a little bit and reach the hilum. It's a very common way of doing partial nephrectomies and robotic surgeries. They really go in for the hilum first. But remember, on the right side, if you have not seen it already, then it has to be the duodenum which you are seeing first. It's not the IVC. So duodenal injury, if you had it, then you had it. So the duodenal injuries are the worst injuries. IVC injuries can be equally bad. And superior mesenteric artery, people have really gone in overconfidence. Hilum first, clammed, clipped the superior mesenteric artery. It has happened in robotic surgeries. It has happened in laparoscopic surgeries. It has happened in open surgeries. And never cross midline. If you are on the IVC right side, don't try to go to the other side of the IVC. People have clipped other side renal vein. People have clipped other side renal artery. So don't think you are something. You can be something new to do it. So hook is a very good dissector, and don't feel shy. It's a very conventional instrument, and it's an amazing good dissector. It pulls one strand at a time. Take your sweet time near the hilum. Pull one strand at a time. Buzz it, lift it. I told you, grab it, lift it, confirm, reconfirm, then buzz it or cut it. Lift one strand at a time. Gently, you can swipe it. It's a very versatile equipment. Very versatile equipment. There are suctions which come with a hook inside. You can push hook out and do the dissection. If there is some oozing, bleeding, just pull out the hook little bit and do the suction. So it's very versatile equipment, and it can be very useful in your beginning cases, because you may not always have luxury of harmonic and ligashow and all the equipment. So even with the hook, you can very well do it. So thanking you once again. What is now proved was once only imagined. So it doesn't matter, you have to follow what I tell you. With experience, you can devise your own methods. Whatever technique you are considering, if your gut says yes, then you probably should use it. And all complications have already happened. It needs special talent to create a new one. Google it. If you try, everything has already happened. So learn from others' mistake rather than from